What's going on, guys? It's the Badwolf. All right. So I've been seeing out there from the forest with mine eyes, people talking about the do not detain list. Now, we covered this a long time ago, so let's cover this again. All right. So the do not detain list information, unless somebody can prove otherwise, originally was put out there by Colonel Von Wilson of Copper Moonshine Stills. He is the Grand Poobah, the GOAT, the master of ceremonies. When what he says on his website is fact. Not that I needed to, but I vetted this man. It took me a long time to become friends with him. And now years later, we're best friends, all right? Or at least dang good ones. So I do highly support you guys checking out his website, coppermoonshinestills.com. You can find information on the do not detain list, the passport, the original way of doing it, most of which of that information is still valid, though, as I always say, as we move, they move. So some of the things have changed slightly, but nonetheless, the premise of the information is still good. We have just made a couple of new updates to things since we have learned since those days. Now, other people since then have utilized his information on their various platforms, and most of them have given him credit for it. A lot of times people don't want to give credit where credit is due. So that being said, a large chunk of my materials from him and other people who wanted to remain anonymous have given me information in the various communities, sectors, agencies, boards, and whatever else. For their own whatever reasons, they decided they wanted to help try to get some of this information out. So that does not take away anything from my work that I've added to these other people. It's not about it's all mine or it's all this person's or whatever else, okay? Like, it's really interesting when, like, I'll copy a code of text, and make my own thing, and then all of a sudden, I'll get an email, hey, you're using a couple of sentences from my whatever. I'm like, oh, I'm not using your whole form or file. Most of these things are court cases and whatever else that are in the public domain. So it's just crazy how people want to hoard everything and whatever else, but it is what it is. So I digress. The do not detain list. So the do not detain list is a real thing. It's real. I've had an agent contact me and say, hey, you're on the do not detain list. Why are you on the federal watch list? Well, that's because of the information that I, one, present, number one. Two, when you do things proper and you send them a letter letting them know that you are, in fact, in your correct standing, yeah, they'll put you on the list. But it's also understanding that there are bad people on the list. There's good people on the list. You're just on the list, okay? You just want to make sure that you don't have a check mark for bad, okay? So just like if a dignitary comes here from another country, they're going to be put on the watch list too because they are watched people. Like they should be protected or they should be kept an eye on for various reasons. But essentially the system keeps an eye on everybody, okay? So there's just some people that will just say are more VIP for good or bad reasons. Now, in the old days, to get on the do not detain list, and it's not to say that you still can't do it, it was exactly that. You would send a letter to the Supreme Court. You would send a letter to the Department of State. You might even, send any of the upper agencies, okay? Let them know that who you are, what standing you're correctly in, and whatnot and what forth. So when Colonel Von Wilson put out the whole do not detain, and it was under the passport, what's really going on with that? Can you be arrested? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So a lot of people are under the misnomer that just because you have your passport done that you cannot be arrested. This is not true. It's not, okay? The do not detain list, though we don't know if there's a state version of it, but I am assuming there is a state version of it somewhere, something that they probably will not let us know about, but we do know there's one on the federal list. And the federal government is the grand poobah of protecting everything American, okay? So if anything, that's more or less where, you know, your stuff is going to matter. However, on the state level, I'm sure there's a VIP list that they have for special dignitaries and et cetera. How to access it, who to go to for that, don't know. Don't even know for sure if there officially is one. But my large brain tells me that there probably is. Okay. So can you be arrested? Yes. Well, but that doesn't make sense. That's an oxymoron. You're on the do not detain list, but they can arrest you. So here's the thing. If you are driving, now hear me out. But no, I'm doing right to travel, Wolf. Are you? Are you sure? Are you sure? Have you watched all my videos? Have you made everything private? Have you downloaded the state's legislative information on right to travel? Have you watched my live on it? Are you up to date on all the information? Because a lot of people are making a mistake thinking that they're doing right to travel when they haven't closed out properly their driver's license. They haven't created a private trust and transferred their vehicle into it and updated it, still using the state's plates. You don't have an affidavit of being a non-resident. You still have your voter registration going on. If you want to be private, you have to be private. If you're going to dance around with both, then they're going to pull you into their jurisdiction by lowest common denominator. One bad apple in the hand of, you know, with a couple others next to it are going to rot the whole batch. In other words, if there's a spot that they can attack you with, then they're going to attack you. And they have the right to do that because you still have contractual obligations in place. You can't just throw a plate on there. And for the love of God, you cannot just go around speeding. I'm a national. I'm a sovereign. I can speed. I can do what I want to do. No, you can't. I never once in my videos ever said, nor will I ever say that you're above the law, because you're not. You cannot endanger public safety. Period. Can't. That will always trump whatever status, standing, whatever you have if you're endangering public safety. Safety of the public always comes first. Anybody has the right to stop you if you are doing something dumb. I don't want you endangering my friends or family out there. You shouldn't be endangering yourself. If you don't care about yourself, you can, well, I'm not going to tell you what you can do, but don't bother mine. Don't endanger me and mine. You know? So to those people abusing the information and misusing it, hey, get what you deserve. Straight up. Don't even care. Full offense. To the people who are trying to do it the correct way, make sure that you are doing all the steps the correct way. Watch all the videos on right to travel, especially all the ones I have. Okay. Now, but why can you still be arrested? Okay. Here's the thing. And I'm going to give it to you straight. I've already covered if you're endangering people. I already covered if you're not, your information is still in the system. Well, I sent them I told them to cancel and close my account. Yeah, I did that too. They don't have to do that unless you take them to court and sue them. So what you have to do is transfer your vehicle to a private entity and do all the other steps like I mentioned in the videos. If you really want to be private, that's how you do it. You cannot be part-time public with a vehicle. It has to be one or the other. You can switch between both if you want, but you can't quickly and instantly do that with your car. If you're in or you're out. That's it. Now, what are the reasons why can they do that? Well, here's another reason. Because you're still using and operating under your legal name. The legal name was the given name was given by your parents to them. The state took it, turned it into a legal person. They have jurisdiction over that legal person, which means if the one state that brought you into their PMA as a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen brought you in, gave you that name, they have an agreement with all the other states, the state of, not the republic side of the state, not the private, but the public corporation side. So anywhere you go in the system, their overlay over the land, which is ours, means if you're in that area and you have identification, then you are one of them. You are one of their members. Imagine like Pepsi Mafia or something like that. Okay, you go anywhere else, and a Pepsi police officer pulls you over because he sees, you know, whatever, he thinks you're one of them, and you give him information with your Pepsi name on there, your Pepsi employee code, which is essentially the same thing as what the states have done, then you're still a part of Pepsi. Don't understand why you guys don't get this, for some of you. So you're using the legal name, but Badwolf, what about the passport? The passport puts me on the do not detain list. You made the video too. Other people did it too. This is true. The do not detain comes in at if you're not bothering anybody. You're not in a position where they think you're doing commerce. Yes, it does work. And yes, most police officers do honor it. But here's the minutia of that scenario. If a cop pulls you over and you give him your passport, though, and cops, you guys should know this too, by law, you are supposed to go by that identification piece, which means that they are supposed to run just that identification piece to identify you. It is in fact fraud and a felony for them or anybody else to try to say you are somebody other than the identification piece you present. Taking somebody's name off of a passport and then running it to try to match them up is identity fraud. You cannot do that lawfully nor legally. But hold on, we're not done yet because there's some steps in there. But have they done that? Yes. Can you take them to court over that? Can you argue that issue? Yes, you can. But if you're endangering people by speeding, you're doing something that looks like it could be criminal, and they have probable cause, they can pull you over. And guess what? They're going to run that information. And if you have any prior warrants still under your legal name and they can match you, you're done. That's a contract. Do not detain doesn't mean because you have the card now, you're just untouchable because of the past stuff you've done. That is still active. And if they can link you, they will do it. But they are not supposed to take your name off of your passport and then separately run that, because the identification that you provide by law is who you are. I cannot be walking down the street and then see somebody who I think is a police officer, or maybe I happen to know he is, and say, hey, identify yourself as a police officer and go over there, stop what you're doing with your family and go do that. Because why? He's in private capacity at that point in time. You can't pin a name on somebody and say, hey, I know that you're Officer McCluskey and you have to go and do this. He's like, bro, now can he? Yes. Could he get in trouble for that? Yeah, he's not on duty. But typically, are they really going to do anything about that? No. If you're off duty, you're off duty. You don't have the extension of police powers when you're not on duty. But he, as a person who is police trained and as a private citizen as well, has the ability to go and stop somebody, but it's the same thing you have, which is why they call it a citizen's arrest. That goes for everybody, whether it's a cop or whatever else. You can arrest anybody if they're doing something criminal or damaging property or hurting another person. That doesn't mean you can just go, hey, I'm going to do a citizen arrest and the cop's not do anything. No, you get your face, kicked in, okay, because you're in the wrong. You can only do that for somebody who's doing criminal things. Look it up. Okay, nobody's above the law. Am I wrong? Yeah, not even police officers. They're given some leeway on some things like running through lights here and there, whatever. But really, are they even supposed to do that? No, not if they're not in the active pursuit of something. So yeah, they do fractional law infractions all the time. It's kind of a courtesy. Who's going to report a cop for that? But is it right? No. So to get back to it, if you don't have all of your stuff private, and even more so, here's the thing. If you haven't done either the legal name change or you've created your own ID with a private, distinct, separate name than your given one, and they find information on you, they can still pull you over and arrest you because you're not operating completely private. Well, yeah, but my name is my name. You can argue all you want that your name in small case letterings, which by law is in fact a given name in private. But when you still have other identification pieces, driver's license, and whatever else with your all caps or upper and lowercase name, that is a legal entity. They're going to call it semantics because that's an argument for the court, not on the side of the road. They're not trying to hear it. Am I wrong, police officers? No, I'm not. Do I have friends and family are cops? Yes. Do we converse about things? Yes. And I have other people out there who law enforcement have reached out to me about this very information because they don't know what it is either. And I show them right where it is in the law books or the federal code or Supreme Court case rulings, which are all superior law to the state level. But the state can do things within their area. So when people like today in my Telegram group, people are like, well, in my state, it says here that that only applies to non-residents. Okay, let me take you back. This goes for everybody, including law enforcement, because I know that they like to watch these videos too, because this happened with them as well. Okay, federal agents too. Hey guys, I know everybody, all you guys watch these videos, and it's awesome. I like to educate you guys. I have no problem with anybody. I'm not against anybody. I'm just a neutral person, non-belligerent, non-combatant, providing information. All I'm trying to do is make you guys think so you guys can go and vet the information for yourselves. And if you don't like it or you find that it's not accurate, then hey, do your thing. Okay, as long as it abides by the law. So my point here is that before all of you got a bank account, before all of you got a driver's license, whatever else, what was the one question? I bet you guys, all of you, 99.99% of you, they all asked you the same question or told you had to do something before you can get those things. What was it, class? Anybody? It was to prove residency. Why? Why, if I've lived in the state of Arkansas or Florida or whatever else my entire life, till 18, 19, 20, whatever year it was, I talked to this official office corporation person providing benefits and services to the general public, not to the private necessarily, but they can. Are you asking me to prove residency? I've been here my entire time. Why? Because they wanted you to prove that you reside within their state, not the physical state, but the corporate state on paper as an all caps legal person. That's why they asked you to provide them with a mail piece with your name on there in all caps. Remember, you try to get away with it with your name written on there from grandma or something. They're like, nope, it's got to be something what? Official. Yeah. Something with a zip code. Yeah. And of course, a 2-digit abbreviation doesn't hurt either, because that's what turns you into a resident. You proved you were a resident, which is technically fraud, lightly in between there, between the parties. But see, you went to them for the benefit. They said, hey, just prove that you're a U.S. citizen. And you did, because you didn't know any other way. You didn't know any better. And there's actually nothing wrong with being a U.S. citizen. There's lots of benefits and privileges and licenses and things, because you're operating in commerce, commercially, official, office style, which is in itself a PMA, a public or private members association, but it's so big, it's called the public, and the states own and operate that. They are charged with doing that by the federal government. That's why they cannot just do whatever they want to do. And if they overstep, shazam, the government steps in and waxes that aspirin. Okay. So, yes, you can still be arrested. Because you have existing things going on. Nobody said this was a immunity list, but what they're saying is that traditionally they are not supposed to be able to arrest you if you're on the list and you present that as identification. Does that mean that they haven't snaked around that by just pulling your name off and using it sometimes? Yeah, seen it, had it done. Okay. For me, it was a long call with their commanding officer during the moment thereof. And then they said, yeah, we're going to leave you alone. So yeah, it does happen. But the average person out there just going, I got my passport, I'm on the do not detain list, I can do whatever I want to. No, it doesn't work that way. And depending on what you've done, they can always arrest you. You're not immune from criminal things, but some officers out there will say, oh, well, we can't run those. Lies. They'll say, well, I need another ID. You have to provide another ID. If the person doesn't have an ID, or they provide you the private one or a national ID, it is to be accepted. But if you're not doing anything wrong, it shouldn't be bothering you. Pulling you over because you have a private plate is not good enough. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll pull you over and say, you've got a dirty plate, or you did this, you did that. What they're trying to do is see who you are to escalate the stop, so then they can try to find you in the system any way they can. Because now if they don't find you in the system, now they can get into trouble because there was nothing there. You're bothering people, which goes against your right to travel and your ability to travel and to live without unreasonable seizures under your constitutional rights to privacy and to interstate commerce. You have the right to move around and do what you want to do. So that's a federal offense. Hope you officers know that. You can be sued through the company and in your personal capacity. You can. But if you want to find out how not to, then watch some of my videos. Like I said, I'm not against anybody. If everybody wants to live privately or develop it, you think you'd be the first law officer or agent or millionaire or whatever else to contact me on how to move privately or do your things right. I get that every day. These are your rights to protect yourself. But of course, the state will protect you to a certain degree, but that also doesn't mean that you can't be attacked on your private side, FYI. Okay? If you don't believe me, talk to some of your more senior officers about right to travel, or if they know anybody in the academy or in your district or precinct that have been sued in their private capacity. They don't like to talk about it, but they'll tell you they know somebody who has. It's not pretty. You're just not going to see it on TV and whatever else. So don't let these people give you a false sense of security. But there are ways, in fact, for everybody to protect their stuff. And that's usually going to be in private trusts. Okay. As the wealthy have always been telling us, control everything and own, nothing. All right, because see, at the end of the day, we're all Americans. Some of you guys aren't Americans when you're in your official capacities legally. But in the book, Sun Tzu's The Art of War, what they want to do is divide us, cause controversy. If you can divide a superior opponent or enemy, cause infighting, then the third party comes in and cleans up the mess and looks like the hero when they're in fact the instigator of the entire event. But they're behind the curtain and you're just getting orders. So do not detain, do not detain. What does it really mean? It means that as long as you are not doing anything dumb, illegal, or criminal, you're good. But that's only going to take you so far if you still have your stuff with your legal name on it. If they can find it, they can use it against you. But in general, yes, you would be correct that the do not detain list does work. It is a real thing, but you cannot abuse it. You don't think that the government Why do you think they red zone people and don't put you all the way over to the higher levels on the passport? Because you're in the red zone. They think you're going to probably go out and do stupid stuff. Because this information is for people who can self-govern, not because you just want to do it, then try to do something dumb or criminal. You don't think that they can just take away your passport? You don't think that they can shut your account down? Oh yeah, they can, because they issued it. So if you're doing stupid stuff out there, then yeah, you're gonna get it. So even if you have all of your stuff private and you've got the passport, and let's just say you even have your private name on there, that's about the best way you're going to be 100% in the private while operating. But if you have a cop who's going to overstep or escalate the stop or the information and do that, yeah, they're going to find the information. Now you have to fight that in court or take them to federal court to then fight back. But if you have prior warrants and they can link you, showing them your do not detain, and they still have you haven't cleaned up your old stuff, or your current stuff is not out of the system properly, yeah. Okay. Now there's other things to it. I mean, you're not looked at, how should I say this correctly? Nobody's above the law, not even police officers, not even agents, nobody. That's the purpose of all of these things, the Bill of Rights, Constitution, Declaration, whatever. And yes, you should not be bothered if you're just traveling privately and you've done everything correctly. If you want to solidify your position, you should have watched all my videos on right to travel and all the updates and make sure you've done everything properly. That's why I make updates. If we missed something, then we should fix it. Otherwise, you're not in proper compliance with the laws. They're there if you read them and to be able to use them. A lot of people go, oh, I haven't been bothered in X amount of time. Okay, then it's only a matter of time before they do bother you if you're doing something dumb. If you're not doing anything dumb, you should be good. You have everything done correctly, you should be good. So once again, to digress back to the question in the Telegram group today, person was like, well, in my state, okay, when I was talking about being a resident, well, then create an affidavit of being a non-resident. Keep it in your car. Renounce you if you choose. Not saying you have to. This is educational information only, but you can also create a statement or within the same statement and renounce your 14th Amendment U.S. citizenship while maintaining your state citizenship or your status as a national of the United States of America, operating under the Constitution for the United States, and have it notarized and in your travel binder. That gives you another slight layer of protection. But if your legal name is still there and the legal name shows to be that owns the vehicle, well, then yeah, because the legal name is registered to the state. It's a contract. You're in their jurisdiction, their property. Now, you can be in the area, okay, and be a non-resident because you have your affidavit, sworn, I'm no longer a resident of the state. I don't vote, or rescinded my voter's registration, revoked it. Your vehicle's good. And yeah, now it's in a trust. You updated the DMV so that they know it's in a trust. You've transferred it. Okay, so now you're good. It still doesn't mean you can speed and do crazy stuff because they will just stop you and do what they have to do because you are endangering the public. Can't do it. It's like the days of dragons and dinosaurs and wolves, unfortunately, and whatever else. If you're out there endangering other people's ways of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and you're a public threat, that means to everybody, then they're going to stop you. That's it. Okay? So, once again, to finish up on that statement. So, The state law will say, well, if you're in the state, well, if you look up the legal description of the state, it means within these boundaries. But see, they don't own everything in that area. What they're saying is if you're within these boundary lines and you are one of them as a resident, then you are within the state. Because you're on paper, that's within their corporation. If we own the bed, which is the ground, geographically United States of America, they operate the business on top of it, and you're in that area your entire life and they don't know who you are, what you're doing, you grew up, you never applied to get anything, you have no legal name, and you're a non-resident. How do we know that? Because immigrants can live in an area within the state or within the physical boundaries, but they're not considered residents of the state. They're not in the corporation. They're on the land. And in this case, they're immigrants or foreign nationals from their country, but they're not recognized here. So some would be here illegally, which by law, police officers are also not supposed to ask you anything more once you tell them that you are a foreign national or an immigrant. They're always supposed to actually ask you the moment they talk to you, what's your citizenship? And that's how it's supposed to be. So remember, you have the right to plead the fifth. You do not have to answer any questions. This does not mean you can go mute. It means you don't have to answer any questions that are going to incriminate you. The burden of proof is on them. Now, this doesn't mean be difficult. What this means is that by law, you know your rights. You have the right to have counsel present. You have the right to not answer any questions that can incriminate you. You have the right, if they don't have a warrant, to let them tow your car or to go through your car. Okay? So to answer the question, once again, if you don't have proof that you are a non-resident, you don't have an affidavit, you don't have your stuff put all into the private, and you're answering and using your legal name, because your legal name is spelled the same way and it sounds the same way. So when you answer, you are that entity. And guess what? If you don't have your stuff together, they're not trying to hear, well, yeah, but my name in all caps is capitis demutio maximum, Black Law's Dictionary. It's not really me, but you are still the authorized agent and you're answering to the same name because you don't have your stuff properly taken care of. You're not truly living as a foreign national, private sector, private citizen, state citizen, national of the United States of America under the Constitution, or a constitutional citizen or a secured party creditor. So that's all the information I know about the do not detain. Okay. So hopefully that gives you guys an understanding of what's really going on. Like I said, this is just off the top of my head. I don't have anything planned. There's no written script. This is just what it is, because I read their laws, I read their books, and I understand they're just doing business, guys. They're, for the most part, the ones you're actively going to see on a normal daily basis are not your enemies per se, but they got some of them do have an attitude because one, is a tough job, but if you don't like the job, then quit. Oh, sorry, keeping it real. But they also look at you when you're not doing commerce right as a problem, but don't also let them fool you, because even though they might not care for you too much, the people above them who employ them, oh, they love it. They love it when you get this information wrong, because that's job security. Cha-ching! Makes the money. Can you imagine a day where everybody's just good and we don't need anybody governing us? We all know how to do all of our own mailings and forms and whatever else. Right now, a whole bunch of people on top went, oh, did you guys hear that? There's something wicked in the air. Something wicked this way comes. Well, we all know that'll never happen because people are animals. Oh, man. So you guys are job security when you don't do it right. And don't get it wrong, I'm not coming down on you because they don't teach us how to do it. So unfortunately, a lot of us will be trial by error because they have no obligation to teach us how to move privately, only in the public. So if you're still using things that are tying you to the public, they've pulled you back into their jurisdiction. That's all there is to it. Or if you are out there doing something criminal or stupid or trying to whatever, then you've willingly walked back in there. One way or another, that's it. Even if you didn't know you were walking that direction, that's what you did. So get your paperwork right, get your status corrected, your standing right. Don't be a belligerent or combatant. Don't be making these people's lives harder than it already is. Because remember, we all have personal lives that we don't necessarily just show and share with everybody. That, you know, is difficult at times. Every day is always something, right? Right. All right. Other than that, that's about it, guys. Do not detain. So, can you be arrested? Yes. If you do it properly, can you be arrested? You're minding your own business? Well, sure, they can overstep and try to do something to you. Not all cops are good. Not all agents are good. Not all whatever are good. So watch yourself for those people. Report them if they're doing something, in fact, criminal or wrong against you. Do not make up stories or BS or try to go after their bonds and do fake liens and whatever else on them, because now you're playing with their stuff and they will bank you. Okay? Meaning they will lock you up. They will make money off of you because you're interfering with their stuff. And you have a legal name floating around out there. So it's, well, highly not advised. All right, guys. Yeah, once again, the do not detain. Can you be arrested? Yes, yes, you can. If you're doing everything right, I'm not going to say you cannot be, but if you're not doing anything wrong, you have everything right, yeah, you're good. But the moment you don't self-govern or the moment you don't have everything done properly, unfortunately, there's two sides here. This is what the judge told me. That's why he asked me. He's like, well, we would love to have you on our side, Mr. Lovett. Yeah, because I would be devastating against the average person. The average person, you know, can't even handle a lawyer, and lawyers can't handle me. Now, this does not mean that I know all of the law, because nobody knows all of it. But the areas that I am versed in, I'm very good. And also, that being said, I do not do court cases. I provide you guys with the tools and information that will allow you to study and learn on your own. If you need legal advice, then contact a lawyer or attorney as you see fit. As always, none of this is legal advice. This is just information. So drive safely, travel safely, but don't do both at the same time. That's it, right? I mean, can you exist in heaven and in hell at the same time? That's purgatory, right? Well, that's where you are when you're mixing the jurisdictions or you haven't cleaned up your past stuff. That's it. I mean, it's really just that simple. Like, if you have past stuff you haven't taken care of, pay those people. You're a legal entity. You are the authorized agent for it. Pay it or get rid of it, discharge it, whatever you got to do. But settle that up. Because here's the problem with what's going on. If they represent hell and we're heaven, you're mixing the two. And if you're still wearing emblems from hell on you, like your legal name, they can yank your winged butt right out of heaven and back down into the pit. Sam and Dean Winchester. Supernatural. Do you get it now? Do you get it? All right. Because unfortunately, in this version of heaven, there's nobody there to pull you out but you. But there's a whole bunch of hands, dead entities under the fire water of hell to pull you down. That's just what it is. This is the game. Play or don't play. If you're going to play right and know which piece you are and how to move it. That's it, guys. Appreciate you. Have a good one. Talk to you later. Badwolf's out. Do not detain. It's a real thing, but if you have not taken care of your business properly, they can still bother you, because at the end of the day, did you specifically go to the correct part of the government to be looked at as a diplomat and have diplomatic immunity? Like, no questions asked, fully approved by the government with special IDs and stuff outside of the generally available passport version? Yeah. So that's it, guys. Easy peasy. Talk to you guys later. Be safe. Everybody who watches this, be safe. Wolf's out.